up YouTube and welcome to our channel MGA. Today we're going to be reading Diary of the Wimpy Kid Getaway Part 2. In the last video we read that Greg and his family are going to a family trip in Isle de Corrales. He doesn't like the idea that they're going to spend their Christmas Eve and their Christmas in Isle de Corrales and a plane. So let's move ahead and read. But first, at the end of the video, I have a big surprise for you lover readers. Well, let's start reading. Diary of the Wimpy Kid, Part 2. There were 2 lines, one for families and one for business travelers. I guess Dad usually gets to go through the business lane when he travels for work, so he didn't seem too happy about being stuck with the rest of us in the family lane. Anytime you add the word family to something, you know things are gonna be bad. And trust me, I've been to enough family restaurants to know what I'm talking about. We waited in the security line a long time, and we finally made it to the front. But then some kid, a few rows behind us, started pressing the buttons on the poles that hold the barriers together. All of a sudden, there was nothing keeping the line separated, and for a second, no one moved. But then, things completely fell apart. By the time the security agents got all the zip barriers reconnected, we ended up at the back of the line, and the family with the kid who caused all the trouble was at the front. Now Mom and Dad were really stressed because our flight was supposed to leave at any minute. Dad begged one of the security agents to let us go to the front, but he didn't seem too sympathetic. I thought we were going to miss our flight, so I didn't really see the point of going through the security. But Dad, sometimes they leave the gate open until the last second, and we might still make it. We finally got to the front of the line, and we put our bags on a conveyor belt. Then we took off our coats and shoes and put them into some plastic bins. Manny saw what the rest of us were doing, and luckily he took off his clothes too. Mom noticed in time and stopped him before he could go any further. Manny wasn't finished causing problems, though. Apparently, he thought the conveyor belt was some kind of ride, and he was really upset when he found out it wasn't. The people behind us were getting frustrated we weren't moving, but we were being held up by the guy in front of us. He had to remove everything he had on that was metal, and it was taking him forever. Roderick told me these machines can see through your clothes, and then someone checks a screen to make sure you're not trying to sneak by with anything dangerous. All I can say is I wouldn't want to be that person with that job. It turns out that the X-ray machine that sees through your clothes is only for grown-ups, and kids go through the metal detector instead. Still, I wasn't going to take any chances. Once we got through the security, we grabbed our stuff from the conveyor belt and took off. Our gate was down on the lower level, so we had to take the escalator. We couldn't even do that without causing a major problem. Manny's stuffed animal got stuck in the bottom of the escalator, and he had to press the emergency stop button so Mom could pull it free. Dad checked his watch and said we might still make it. So we ran for our gate, but the gate was all the way to the other end of the terminal, and we knew we couldn't make it in time on foot. Just then, a car for handicapped passengers came along, and Dad stopped it and asked the driver if we could hitch a ride. The rest of us got on board before she could say no. After that, it was pretty smooth sailing. The terminal was pretty crowded, but the people moved out of our way when they heard us coming. The driver dropped us off at our gate, but the door was closed. I thought that meant we had to miss our flight and we could turn around and enjoy a nice Christmas Eve at home. But it turned out the flight was delayed, so all that stress was for nothing. The reason the flight was delayed was because of all the bad weather, and it was going to be an hour before we got on the plane. We looked for a place to sit down in the boarding area, but people were hogging the seats. Mom told me that once we got on the plane, we'd be in the air for about 6 hours, which was news to me. I asked her for some money, and I bought a couple of magazines, some snacks, and headphones at the shop near our gate. The only thing I needed that the store didn't have was socks. My right sock was still soaking wet from the stepping in that puddle. So I went into the bathroom to wring it out in the sink. When I was done, my sock was still damp, and I really didn't want to put it back on my foot. The bathroom had one of those high-powered hand dryers. That gave me an idea. I couldn't wait to get back at home and start making some money on this idea. I figured I could make a killing on rainy days. The only problem with the hand dryer in the airport bathroom was that it was a little too powerful. My sock started smoking, and then it went flying. I decided I'll just get a new pair of socks at the resort, because there was no way I was gonna wear something I had to fish out of the urinal. When I came from the restroom, they were making an announcement at our gate. I figured out they were ready to start boarding the plane, but they were just letting us know there was another delay. And it went on like that for the rest of the day. Apparently, this storm was causing problems everywhere, and the plane we were supposed to fly out on was stuck at some other airport. I was starting to worry that my electronic device was going to run out of juice while I was on the plane. So I looked for a place to charge it, but I guess everyone else was thinking the same thing. The only available outlet was in an awkward place, but when your battery is at 50%, you gotta do what you gotta do. Our plane finally arrived at the gate, and all the passengers who were on it got off. But if flying is supposed to be fun, you'll never know it from the way these people looked. The gate agent got on the loudspeaker and said, "We'll be boarding shortly." Then she said our flight was overbooked and they needed a few volunteers to give up their seat. She said whoever volunteers first will get $300 and a free night at the airport hotel. I didn't need to hear another word. I got to the desk before she even finished with her announcement, and I saw I was her guy. Unfortunately, Mom wouldn't let me volunteer, and nobody else stepped up either. So the gate agent increased to offer to $500, and some woman snapped it up right away. I just hope she enjoys spending my money. After that, the agent made another announcement. She said the flight crew was on our plane and had worked too many hours because of all the delays, and we had to wait for a replacement crew to come in before we could take off. Now everyone at our gate was mad because what was supposed to be an early flight was turning into an overnight one. When the new flight crew finally arrived, they didn't look happy to be there. That's probably because they were expecting to spend Christmas Eve at home, so I knew exactly how they felt. After crew got on board, they started letting passengers on the plane. My family got to go first because they let with young kids aboard before anyone else. But the gate agent stopped me at the door. She said my carry-on bag was too big to fit in the overhead bin, so it had to go below with the rest of the luggage. That was fine with me, because I didn't even want to deal with my bag on the plane anyway. When I got on board, I was pretty impressed. The seats were a lot bigger than I expected, and they were covered in real leather. I asked Mom what row were we in. She said we needed to keep moving. She said this was the first class section, and we were in the economy. But the economy section wasn't half as nice as the first class. The seats were packed together, and they barely had any cushioning. Mom said our seats were toward in the middle of the plane, so we headed there. But Dad hung up back in the first class section. He said that he got upgraded because of his frequent flyer miles. And he'd catch us after we landed. Mom didn't seem happy about this news. She said it wasn't fair for him. To be in first class while we were in the economy. So she said we'll all take turns sitting in Dad's seat during the flight. Well, that's it for today, guys. And the part that I liked was when Manny took off his clothes and also thought that it was a ride when it was just to check if you were hiding something dangerous. By the way, the big surprise is Wonder Movie Edition. I'm gonna be reading this one once we finish reading this one. So tell me, which other books. But anyways, bye and like and subscribe and share. Bye.